It's time for the Texas Renaissance Festival. Over 400 artisans and craftspeople await you in their beautifully recreated 16th century village. Enjoy a worldwide menu featuring savory dishes, tasty sweets, and a variety of drinks. Revel in the finest musicians, entertainers, and nightly fireworks. Stay the weekend with their Stay and Play Pass. Open weekends and Thanksgiving Friday from October 11th through November 30th. Get tickets and more at texrenfest.com. Family merriment awaits. Huzzah! Located in Houston's Energy Corridor, the Village School is here to serve students from age 2 through 12th grade with private day school and boarding school options. They're ranked as one of the top 20 K-12 private schools in America by niche.com because their world-class teachers provide exceptional learning experiences with a STEAM American curriculum in an international community. Visit thevillageschool.com to learn more or register for their STEAM Day open house on November 13th. All week long on CityCast Houston, we've been talking about the world of education, mostly the traditional route, like going to a four-year college. But let's be honest, that's not the only path out there. Workforce training programs are growing fast, and there's something Houston desperately needs. To break it all down, I'm joined by Hany Khalil, the executive director of the Texas Gulf Coast Area Labor Federation. And this episode is part of Education Week, brought to you by the Village School, where they offer 4 high school specialty diplomas, including the International Baccalaureate, Pre-Medical Science, Entrepreneurship, and Computer Science programs, as well as advanced placement courses. Learn more at thevillageschool.com. And after the interview, former executive producer Laura Eisensee will be joining us for a conversation sponsored by the Texas Renaissance Festival about what they have in store for their 51st anniversary. It's Thursday, September 25th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Hany, thank you so much for joining us on CityCast Houston. I'm very excited to learn from you. How are you?
Great. It's very good to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
So you were an HISD teacher about 15 years ago now, and you've seen so many different trends and attitudes adjust. What have you seen with attitudes changing for students beyond high school?
So you're right. I was a social studies teacher in HISD for 9 years. And for several of those years, I also worked as a college counselor and advised students on their post-high school options. So I was really very much involved in helping students get access to higher ed and helping channel them in that direction. And what I found was that Texas has some amazing colleges and universities. It's a great path for many, but it is not the right path for everyone when they finish high school for 3 reasons, I think. And the first is what I think a lot of us know about. College is a lot more expensive than it used to be.
So expensive.
So expensive. And frankly, not everyone can afford to be saddled with thousands of dollars in debt, and certainly not the low-income, overwhelmingly immigrant students that I was teaching when I was working in HISD in Southwest Houston. I mean, the average U.S. student borrower now takes 20 years to repay their student loans, 20 years. In Texas, a staggering 21% of borrowers actually see their balance on their debt increase in the first 5 years of their loan.
Wow.
So college is increasingly less affordable. So that's one. Second is the training that you get in college often doesn't provide the actual skills needed on the job. And it does not come with a guarantee of a job. It doesn't. And not just that, there's just no guarantee that it's even going to translate into a good job increasingly in this economy as middle-class jobs get hollowed out. And there are a handful of jobs at the very top that are doing well, but a large number of jobs don't have access to good pay and benefits. The reality is that it used to be that everybody thought that if you got a college degree, you'd be fine, but it's not necessarily true. And, we know lots of people who are graduating from college and going back to live with their parents. That happened a lot during the pandemic, but the truth is it was already happening in large numbers and it continues to happen now. And it's a real sign that people are getting stuck.
Yeah.
So, that's, I think, the real problem we face. If college is not for everyone, or if someone starts and get through, say, the first semester, and then life would happen. Somebody would get sick. They'd have to go and help the family earn income, and they'd drop out. And then the problem is they're stuck because
Yeah.
without some kind of training after high school, the kinds of jobs you're able to get in this economy that pay well are very few.
I saw this number that less than 20% of HISD graduates go on to earn a living wage 6 years after graduation. And that means, they're earning about $42,000 for a single person. What does that stat mean to you as a former teacher and now a labor leader?
It should be a real call that the single-minded focus on college as the path after high school has been a mistake. That what we should be doing is looking at other alternatives, the way that, say, other industrialized countries do, which recognize that apprenticeships in the trades are a very powerful tool to get people into good jobs that pay well without creating an enormous amount of debt for young people that is very difficult to handle when you're right out of high school. And that is, in Switzerland, something like 2/3 of high school graduates go into apprenticeships.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just in construction as well. It's across many different trades. So we can transform jobs into good jobs in part through accessing apprenticeships.
Okay, so I know what internships are. I did a bunch of them. I know about how those work, but tell me more about apprenticeships and what's the difference?
So in certain professions, we're actually pretty familiar with this model. If you think about how doctors are trained, doctors are basically trained as apprentices, where once they graduate from medical school, they're working under a mentor. They're getting trained that way. They actually are getting paid while they're working, and they come out as highly effective people in the trade that they have. Apprenticeships in other industries work the same way. So let me explain what I mean by that. As an alternative to college, there are trade schools. And many folks think, well, I'm better with my hands. I don't really enjoy sitting in a classroom anyway. Let me go there. The problem is there's no job attached. There's no guarantee that you're going to get adequate skills training to get into a good job. It's not a path into a long-term career for most people who graduate from those schools. And many of them also require you to pay for them along the way. And so you're still going into a debt. In an apprenticeship, what happens is you're paid while you are learning. It's an earn while you learn opportunity.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So whether it's a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year program, each apprenticeship program makes a commitment to make sure that you're on a job. They'll only take in enough apprentices that they can place confidently in a job with an employer, a contractor that they have a collective bargaining agreement with, where the agreement says the employer will draw from this school. So that's number one, you get a job. Number two, the training you're doing is paid for by the employer as a result of that collective bargaining agreement. So the student doesn't pay for it. The employer is paying for that training. That's where the
Nothing.
investment's coming from.
I don't have to pay to apply or get it.
Some of them will require fees for applying
Okay.
for application fees, nominal fees, $100, $200. But for the school itself, for education itself, the employer is paying for it.
All
and
right.
so they're investing in students and in apprentices in a way that most employers outside of this kind of relationship don't in this economy. So that's two things. The third thing about it is it's not just a job, it's a good job. And it's a good job because you start at a decent rate of pay, first of all, across the trades, again, negotiated between the employer and the union, and you get automatic pay increases every year negotiated through a contract.
Oh, wow.
So it's a good job. And not just that, it's a safe job. And in Texas, where most apprenticeships are in construction, Texas has the worst safety record of any state in the country. It is a very dangerous state for most construction workers. In contrast, in a union construction job, it's a safe job. There's a lot of attention to health and safety protocols, making sure people are trained, in all the requirements of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, so it's safe. And in addition to all that, you also get access to good benefits, which is increasingly scarce in our economy. What are those benefits? We're talking family health insurance. We're talking a pension. A high school graduate, first year in an apprenticeship program, starts getting access to a pension. So when you add in the employer's paying for training, you're getting a job, it's a good job. An apprenticeship is a very powerful path for many, many high school graduates.
Okay, which career options are there? Like you keep mentioning construction. Is that the only one? Are there other ones?
So the program that we have is called Apprenticeship Advantage. And what we did is we started a collaboration with 8 programs in the building and construction trades. That's where most apprenticeships exist in
Okay.
across the country and specifically in Texas. But we're also working with the Theater and Stagehands Union to build out a new apprenticeship program in live entertainment, largely downtown. All those facilities,
Oh,
Jones
cool.
Hall, those are all unionized. And then the other places with Metro, we work with Metro and the Transport Workers Union to build out a new apprenticeship program in public transportation for bus mechanics specifically.
Hmm.
And what we're trying to do is also show you can build apprenticeships in one trade after another. It just requires employers and a union to come together and agree to focus on it. So we're really building out a new model and want to figure out how to build it in more industries because it's been very successful.
Okay, these sound fantastic. I'm sure people are just lining up trying to get these positions. Is that the case, or am I off here? Because this sounds like it's a great thing and it's something that we can all benefit from here in the city of Houston.
Well, you're right. There is demand, and there's growing demand to get into these programs. Look, these are not fly-by-night programs. They are competitive programs. I think in the past, what I would say, though, is they weren't necessarily well known, and it was a little bit of a secret where, somebody who had figured out how to get into an apprenticeship program encouraged their kids to go into the program, historically, usually men. And that's how people got into these programs. What has happened in the last 20, 30 years is that access to these programs has grown and expanded. And that's through a commitment, for instance, from the North American Building Trades Unions to expand access to non-traditional communities. Just as a really powerful example, 6,000 women just attended the North American Building Trades Union's national conference just
Wow.
last week in Chicago. 6,000 people. There's been a real focus on trying to increase the number of women in particular that get into construction. And women are responding because, like any community, folks want to be able to work in whatever is the best fit for them. And specifically, the building trades here in Houston is a good example. The Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council run a pre-apprenticeship program focused on trying to bring people into the construction trades who don't necessarily have those kinds of family connections that have gone on.
That's really cool.
And they focus very much on women, increased access to minorities, although I would say across the board, our apprenticeship programs are increasingly minority majority, actually,
Oh, really?
reflecting Harris County's population itself.
Yeah, where else are y'all recruiting students for these apprenticeships?
So the pre-apprenticeship is one of the most powerful ways to get in. What it does is it gives an introduction to all the different trades to make sure that you figure out if you're ready to work as an iron worker, potentially 10 stories up on an iron girder. If you're that person and you're great, go for it.
I would do that,
Yeah,
by the way.
okay.
That sounds awesome.
Others may want to be an inside electrician, for instance, and work in a facility that's already pretty much built out.
Yeah.
And work inside rather than under the hot sun. And so each program does its own recruitment. And I'll tell you that the electricians right now are having something like about 100 people apply every 2 weeks to their program. And, for only about 150 spots each year. There's so much interest. The word is really starting to get out about
Whoa.
these programs. But we also, through this consortium we put together, we have done a lot of work to try to get the word out into the community. And so we've done that in a few different ways. We've started running tours to apprenticeship programs, especially in collaboration with Harris County, so that constituents can come and see and learn about those apprenticeship programs directly.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also starting to build partnerships with specific institutions where young people are looking for paths, looking for directions. So we've been having very good conversations with HISD. We just brought a group of seniors, for instance, to do this tour, seniors at Wheatley High School to do tours of apprenticeship programs. Many of them themselves were already college bound, and that's what they thought they were doing and probably still will. But many were blown away by what these apprenticeship programs offer. So we're starting to do that. And then we're also starting to work with government officials on trying to do this as well. We've had a very good starting conversations, for instance, with our new district attorney, Sean Tier, about developing a pre-apprenticeship program so that as they are finding people that turn to crime because they need access to a good job, we're trying to create an opportunity for people to get access into a good job through these apprenticeship programs.
That's really cool.
A lot of different ways we're trying to increase awareness and create real pipelines into apprenticeship programs.
Well, let me ask you, if there's such a demand right now for these roles, Does this mean that there are a lot of open jobs and we need these jobs filled ASAP in Houston? Like, what is that like? How badly do we need these jobs filled in Houston?
There is no doubt in construction in particular that there's a growing workforce shortage. The industry is facing retirements of people in their 50s and 60s
Hmm.
severely. And many of their kids who would have often gone into those trades are now going into other kinds of jobs. They're getting college degrees, they're looking elsewhere. And so the reality is that just even to maintain, there needs to be opportunity for people to get into good construction jobs. So there's that. And that's the case in other sectors as well.
Fall in love with downtown Houston this season. Grab your blanket and your bingo card for Blanket Bingo, one of the city's favorite fall traditions. Or cozy up under the stars for outdoor movie nights featuring everything from Wicked to Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my personal favorites. Need to shake off those pumpkin spice lattes? Downtown Houston has free fitness in the park, yoga, hip-hop dance, and breathwork at Trudley and Market Square Park to keep you moving. And yes, even your four-legged friends get their own yappy hour, paw tea. And mark your calendar, Dia de los Muertos takes over downtown with live music, art, kids activities, and a glowing community ofrenda. Plus a family screening of Coco that will give you all the feels. The weather is nice, so it's time to make this season unforgettable. Plan your downtown adventure with your friends and family at downtownhouston.org. Downtown Houston, get energized and revived.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start that journey today? I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's conversation-based technique quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. I've been practicing my Spanish with Babbel's AI conversation partner. I can choose my conversation topic and have a real-time dialogue. It's great at helping me think on my feet, and it's improving my pronunciation. Also, it's really easy to do anytime on my phone using Babbel's excellent mobile app. It's just one of the many fantastic Babbel tools for learning. Plus, Babbel has a real-time feedback, progress trackers, and handy visualizations, all of which make it really easy to stay motivated to learn. I want you to learn another language. So CityCast is teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/citycast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/citycast. Spelled BABBEL.com/citycast. Babbel.com/citycast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
This show is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies with only a few simple taps and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or sending euros to tip your Coliseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. That's what makes Wise the fast, affordable way to use your money around the globe. Wise also offers 24/7 live support, and they run over 7 million daily checks to catch and prevent fraud, so you know your money is where it's supposed to be. Be smart. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com. Terms and conditions apply. What is the timeline from going as an apprentice to getting a full-time job? And then what are these apprentices earning when they get that full-time job?
You may actually get sent out on a job before your classes even start. You can get into the apprenticeship program, let's say in the summer, and start getting sent out on the job to start learning and be mentored even before classes start in September. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, your first year as an apprentice, you're in a job. It's not 4 years in, it's not after college that you right off the bat. So you're learning, you're then mentored as well by a senior level journey person, that's what they're called, an experienced graduate of the apprenticeship program who's mentoring you along the way. So you're earning income. Again, these are earn while you learn programs. And then you're taking classes at night or on the weekends along the way so that you're getting formalized classroom training as well. In terms of pay, according to our surveys, the average starting wage is $22 an hour. So again, right out of high school, You may go from earning $10 an hour. I had many students who were working while they were in high school. So you might go from that straight into a $22 an hour job. And then with every year, there's a wage increase that's negotiated as well. You get into the second year program, your pay may go up by 10%. You may go up in third year by another 10% and so on.
When I grew up, it was always this attitude of college or bust. That's where you're going. And that was what was preached in high school, right? As a senior, is that attitude changing now in our city?
I think it is changing. There are a couple ways in which it's changing. One is I think that a number of young people are recognizing that college is challenging often to get through and afford along the way. I was just reading some statistic that the percentage of HISD graduates who attend college the year after graduation has actually declined to 53% for the class of 2023. It's the lowest of any graduating class since the 2016 and 2017 school year. And then nationally, enrollment in college fell by 7% between 2019 and 2022. Fell by 7%. Over 1 million students just decided not to go to college that were on track. And so I think many young people are recognizing that that path is not the path for them and are voting with their feet and looking for something different. But I do think that we are recognizing that there are many ways in which to develop the workforce, and more people are recognizing that this kind of approach of a union apprenticeship program is a very powerful way to do it.
Hany, for those people who are considering this different path, how competitive can they expect these programs to be?
There are some that are becoming increasingly well known. I'll tell you that there are many programs, even in our apprenticeship programs right now, who aren't necessarily attracting a lot of people right now. Number one, because they've gone from being a fairly small program to a slightly bigger program. They don't necessarily have a marketing budget that some of our bigger programs have. And so they don't necessarily have the same number of people applying. And let me also say, sometimes the requirements are also lower.
Okay.
I mean, across the board, you've got to have a high school diploma or a GED. You've got to have a driver's license. You got to have reliable transportation. You got to be able to pass a drug screen, and you got to be eligible to work in the U.S. Some of them require certain tests, but other than that, people can go. And there are even now still apprenticeship programs where you can get in that are not nearly as competitive as some of the most competitive programs.
Tell me about how can people apply, right? If there's a listener or if they know somebody that should be doing an apprenticeship right now, where should they go?
So what I would recommend is that people go to our website, gcaflcio.org, Gulf Coast AFL-CIO.org. And right at the top, there's a link to register interest in one of our apprenticeship programs. And then we can do a follow-up with you and send you a link to all the different programs that you can then apply to. Rather than you try to find, the electricians, local 716 versus local 66, what's the difference, the plumbers, we can help steer you in that direction. So we recommend that people do that. That's how you can find out about the Apprenticeship Advantage program. But you will be applying to each individual program. Again, most of them have these basic requirements I mentioned. Each program does their application process a little differently, and how frequently they do it is a little different. But if you go to our website, that's a good way to learn about what all the programs are, at least get a rough introduction, and then people can go from there and apply to the one that seems to be of most interest.
And what's the age limit usually?
No age limit. Our apprenticeship programs will tell you that they've got, obviously the 18 is the minimum, but there are people who have done other kinds of work and found out about apprenticeships, and in their 50s and 60s are starting to work as union apprentices for the first time. Yeah.
So there's a chance I can still be an iron worker.
It's never too late, my brother.
Man, with so much in AI now as well, right? Replacing so many potential careers. I wonder, are these jobs safer and a better bet than going down that traditional 4-year path? Because AI is not going to go up 10 stories high and do that work.
You're completely right. I mean, we're learning that AI is a threat to even the professions that were thought to be both lucrative and secure, like the legal profession.
Yeah.
Right. Some of that work has been outsourced to other countries, and many attorneys are getting replaced by AI. But you're right. If on a construction job, people need to be there. There's no way to replace the use of hands and ingenuity that construction workers bring to a situation to build a physical facility. there is not going to be a shortage of jobs in the construction sector unless the economy were to slow down. In general, as long as the economy continues to have a decent rate of growth, there's going to be plenty of jobs in the construction industry. So that's a particularly good one to go into. But I think that's the case with many fields. Bus mechanics, again, our partnership at Metro, bus mechanics are going to be needed. Even with the electrification of the bus fleet, they still are going to require bus mechanics. Again, that can't be replaced by AI or a robot simply. So there's work that's going to continue to need to be done in many of these fields.
Okay, what's the downfall here? Because this sounds so great. This sounds like something that can benefit so many in the city. What's the downfall? Are people hitting a plateau? What is that thing, if there is one?
So if it sounds too good to be true, it can't be true. Is that the way it's got to be?
Yeah.
I know. Look, we're so used to that way of thinking that I understand why you're saying that, but I don't see any catches. The only thing that it requires is a commitment from employers to want to utilize apprentices through registered apprenticeship, by that which we mean accredited with the Department of Labor. And it requires government to level the playing field so that they can play a role in ensuring that responsible contractors are working. There's commitments that have to be in place. But I wouldn't say that there's a catch. There's no hidden catch here.
Even from your critics, there's nothing like, have you heard anything?
No. And let me also say this. Apprenticeships are being recognized as such a powerful tool that there are many, employers that are not union that are also want to utilize apprenticeships. Many of them are going to be going just at the end of this week to a conference here in the state of Texas, organized by the Texas Workforce Commission, an arm of the Texas government. Our state government, you may know, is not necessarily leading in the effort to build unions in the United States, but they recognize that apprenticeships are important tools to utilize in many industries as well, whether or not they're union or not.
We've seen so many different studies about the affordability here in the city of Houston, and the future, to me, this is my opinion, looks bleak. It's not the same city that I grew up in, where affordability was one of our calling cards. Could programs like these be the future and help us avoid that cliff that seems looming?
Well, I completely agree with you on the question of affordability, whether it's housing costs in particular that have ballooned, and other elements here in Houston. We're not immune to the rest of the inflation in the economy that struck more people. We just learned last week there was a study that came out that said 20% of Houston's residents are in poverty. 1 out of 5 families are stuck in poverty. The highest of any large city in the country, the highest of any large city in a city that we used to think was an affordable city. So we need to do something different. Government and industry need to do something different if we're going to work our way out of that kind of situation and create a more affordable city. So if I had to make a recommendation, I would say that our local government needs to do exactly what it's been doing, which is to recognize that this is a powerful tool and invest in union apprenticeship programs. That's what Harris County has done. We would love to see the state make a similar investment. That hasn't happened yet. And this program that we're doing here is just to make sure everybody's clear. The Harris County used federal American Rescue Plan Act dollars to make a $9.1 million investment in union apprenticeships through the Apprenticeship Advantage program with us. We did well enough that they decided to extend it for a third year. And that has allowed us to modernize these programs and increase access to these programs. And that we want to see government continue to make those commitments, recognize that union apprenticeships are a critical part of our workforce development stream, and that we need apprenticeships in more industries. So we'd love to see local government make more of that kind of a commitment. 2, again, make sure there are labor standards in place so that responsible contractors that decide to utilize union apprenticeships have a chance to actually get work and then put apprentices to work. So if we were to do that in one industry after another, we would have a far more powerful, many, many more people will get access to good jobs and lifelong career training right after high school. And I just think we would have a much more equitable and affordable city as a result of that.
Gotcha. Were those, like, when you use the union apprentices, does it cost more to do construction? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Anything.
Union apprentices typically get paid about 38% more than those that are in
Yeah.
non-union. But with that, it's more expensive, it's true, but it also means that because of the training, you're far more productive than those that are trained outside of a union context. And you're also the most skilled workers in the field. And so that's why you see, our hospital system routinely turning to union contractors that put union apprentices on the job to make sure that work is done safely and that it's done to the quality that needs to. So the higher cost is balanced by more effective workers on the job who can do more faster. That's really the economics of it that make it make sense.
Hany, thank you so much. This was very informative. This is exciting to learn that we don't have to rely on this college or bus mentality anymore. There are other educational options out there that are benefiting the city and us as Houstonians. At the end of the day, we're all selfishly looking like, how's this going to benefit me? Sounds like it's benefiting us already. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed it.
That was Hany Khalil, Executive Director at the Texas Gulf Coast Labor Federation. I've dropped links to the stories we talked about in our show notes. Please help us grow the show by sharing this episode with 3 friends. You can also support the show by becoming a CityCast Houston neighbor for just $10 a month. Learn more with the info in our show notes. For more Education Week content, subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Houston. Today, Brooke is looking at how local lunch menus have changed over the years. And listeners, don't go anywhere. In just a second, we've got a segment sponsored by the Texas Renaissance Festival featuring royalty, the king of the festival.
Hey, I'm executive producer Laura Eisensee here with the king of the Texas Renaissance Festival. Welcome in, Your Highness.
Well, thank you, Lady Laura. It's certainly a pleasure to be here with you and all your watchers here on CityCast. I can't wait to talk with you.
Well, Your Majesty, the Texas Renaissance Festival has so many themed weekends. What makes them special for guests?
Well, I think guests like our themed weekends because it gives them the opportunity to play at different things. They can join us for our Oktoberfest, which is the weekend that we open up with, and they can put on their lederhosen, and we have a large crowd that loves to come out here. I suppose some of them celebrating their German roots, other people just enjoying the idea of their own Oktoberfest here at the Texas Renaissance Festival, and I think it just gives everybody something else to think about and enjoy while they're here.
And one thing that I enjoy so much at the festival are the performers. And there are over 400 performers and artisans. What's one experience that you, as king, think it really brings the festival to life?
That covers so much because you're indeed right. There's so many artisans, and I love our artisans and vendors. So many of them make their own crafts, and I think that that's a very unique, especially in our times now, for people spending time creating something with their own hands that they've thought of out of their head and putting it together. I find that to be extremely important. I think the performers bring a new type of entertainment, a live entertainment, something that's shaped by the environment and the moment, because you never know what's going to happen. So all of our performers, whether they're on stage or our street performers on the street or walking with me, we're always ready to greet and play with our guests and ready for whatever might happen.
Your Royal Highness, festival fare is legendary, from turkey legs to kettle corn, and there are so many themed eating contests. What food or contest do you think captures the spirit of the kingdom the best?
Probably the turkey leg eating one is a very good one, but I must say we also have a haggis eating contest, and that certainly does reflect the Renaissance, especially if you're Scottish. I would say that they're all quite fun. We have kettle corn, we have popcorn. They're all a great time, and they all represent all the food that we have available at the festival. And our winners, if you win one of our food contests, you win tickets to every weekend of next year's festival.
Oh, wow.
And we have that contest. Yeah, we have that contest every day. We're open Saturdays and Sundays, Fridays after Thanksgiving, at 4 o'clock at the New Market Music Gazebo. Of course, you can find about all that online. We also have a costume contest every weekend of the festival at 2 o'clock at the arena stage, and the Queen or I will judge the finest costume of the kingdom that day, and that person or persons will receive tickets to every year of next year's festival. So there's lots of fun to be had and lots of tickets to be won.
Wow, how thrilling. You know, there's also the Fields of New Market that offers everything from tents to cabins, glamping for ladies like myself, and RVs complete with the royal bathhouse showers and nightly bonfires.
Oh, you've heard of us.
Yes, I have. And as king of this realm, what do you enjoy most about seeing guests live and breathe the festival across the campground?
Well, I think I just love the fact that the guests have had so much fun at the festival, or know they're going to have so much fun at the festival, that they're willing to come out and set up their lives in our Fields of New Market, however way they wish to do it, and stay the evening and partake. In the evening, folks get together, and there's a lot of camaraderie and friendship, and they have a great time out there. They often get together and form crews and clans, some of which have been together for decades now, and every year they get together, they camp, and it becomes a tradition. And I suppose that's the biggest part of the Texas Renaissance Festivals. Over 50 years, we have become a tradition. People look forward to us in the fall. They love coming out to our themed events. I mentioned Oktoberfest, but we also have 1001 Dreams. We celebrate All Hallows Eve, Pirate Adventures, Heroes and Villains, Barbarians, Highland Flings, where we celebrate everything Scottish. And of course, we conclude with 3 days after Thanksgiving with a Celtic Christmas celebration.
Well, Your Majesty, thank you for sharing the spirit of the kingdom with us here at CityCast Houston, and thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Again, check out texrenfest.com to learn more. We'll have that link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Laura. That will do it for today. I'm Raheel Ramzanali. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new.